The TxDOT Sunset Bill has left the House and it's over in the Senate now. A couple of the components within that bill I'd like to highlight include, firstly, that the Transportation Commission would now be an elected body rather than an appointed body. It calls for one statewide elected transportation commissioner to serve as the chair of the commission for 4 years. Then there would be 14 regions created around the state, and those 14 commissioners would serve 2-year terms. That bill also calls for the elimination of the TxDOT executive director. It reauthorizes the agency for 4 years, and it also keeps the repeal of the Trans-Texas Corridor. Senator Glenn Hager from Katy is the sponsor of the TxDOT Sunset Bill over in the Senate. He hopes to have a final version of the bill on the Senate floor by this coming Wednesday. The governance structure of the agency is what's still up in the air. The House voted overwhelmingly to have an elected commission. The Senate is continuing the dialogue to maintain the appointed commission. However, Farm Bureau has been assured that, like the House version, the final Senate bill will in fact maintain the repeal of the Trans-Texas Corridor.
I'd like to talk about a few different pieces of legislation this week. First, Senate Bill 1386 by Senator Kel Seliger. This is a bill dealing with the designation of priority groundwater management areas in the state of Texas. In Senator Seliger's bill, under current law, the TCEQ can create a priority groundwater management area if they feel an area is going to have critical groundwater shortages within the next 25 years. What Senator Seliger's bill does is expands that to 50 years. So now TCEQ will have the ability to look out 50 years into the future to decide if you're going to have groundwater shortages. And if they believe that you are, they can propose to create a priority groundwater management area where you live. Now, the significance of this is that once a priority groundwater management area is established, you have 2 years to create a groundwater conservation district. If you don't, TCEQ can require you to create that groundwater conservation district. Now, TCEQ will not manage your groundwater, but they will require you to form that local district to manage the groundwater. Another piece of legislation the Texas Farm Bureau is supporting this session that's working its way through the process, and in fact it's almost passed both the House and the Senate, is House Bill 1965 by Representative Drew Darby, and this bill deals with wildlife destroying property. What the bill is attempting to do is to create an easier process for property owners to get a permit to be able to prevent wildlife from destroying their crops or other property. I also want to give you all an update about what's happening with the appropriations process. The conferees on Senate Bill 1 that are negotiating between the House and the Senate have taken up the Department of Agriculture, the Animal Health Commission, and the State Soil and Water Conservation Board's budgets. And the good news is that on the Soil Board budget, they have provided $15 million in additional money for the Soil Board to go out and repair these flood control dams out in rural Texas that are getting quite aged at this point and are at threat in some areas of failing and flooding areas. In addition to that, we've got a problem with fever ticks, obviously, on the Texas-Mexico border. And the conference committee approved an additional $1 million to inspect and try to keep control of the fever tick problem. Now, they haven't done the budgets yet for AgriLife Extension or a few of the other ag agencies, so we're still in hopes that the agriculture will receive some additional funding for some of the things that it needs.
This week the House passed House Bill 3676 by Representative Heflin. It amends the Texas Economic Development Act so that it ensures school districts can enter into tax abatement agreements with large-scale enterprises such as wind energy farms. Last year, the Attorney General issued an opinion that brought some question into those agreements since the wind turbines are owned by one company and they're put on leased property underneath them. This makes sure that even though there's not actual ownership, but instead a lease arrangement, that those school districts can continue to use this as a tool for economic development within their school districts. It also helps the wind energy industry in the state of Texas and continues our leadership in that area.